Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of The Ball is Round. I'm Hady Raphael, and tonight on the show, wasteful CF Montreal rule missed chances against Chicago Fire, double agent Matko Miljevic gets caught, and the Canadian women's national team faces Jamaica for an Olympic berth. That and a lot more on episode 148 of The Ball is Round. And of course, I'm joined by my good friends, my amazing friends, Eve Powell and Elias Grigoriadis. How are you today?
Doing all right. How are you?
I'm okay. I just can't stand watching 0-0s anymore.
I
had
hear
two in this weekend, and honestly, I just needed goals. Elias, how did Barcelona do?
They compensated greatly
Okay.
for that. You know, they won 5-0 against Betis, which is never easy, but it's never an easy game. But 5-0, and now they're back in the hunt after dropping points earlier in the season. So it's all looking great now. You know, new signings are shining, and the sun is back in Barcelona. Oh my God! Wow.
And Eve, do I dare to ask you about the Wolves?
No,
okay,
please don't.
Okay. So I won't.
It's all bad. It's all bad.
Okay, let's jump right into it because we have a lot to say. But first, yes,
let's
go ahead.
Say hi to Sam.
Let's say hi to Sam. Sam, we missed you so much, man.
Thanks.
You're welcome on the show whenever you want. Just to let you know, I just forgot in the opening that we do have an interview today of Bryce.
Did we forget? It's in our title.
What?
It's in our title. How did we forget?
I know. I don't know when I prepared the program. I just didn't put it there. I don't know why. But yeah, Bryce Duke. We did have an interview with him. It was Elias and myself. It's gonna be a moment during the show, so please stay tuned. Stay here. We were very happy to talk to him, and I think we had a very, very interesting interview, in my opinion. But let's talk first about that game.
It's less interesting.
That's less interesting, exactly. CF Montreal had a big opportunity to widen the gap between them and the Chicago Fire by winning that game at Stade Saputo. Unfortunately, they weren't able to do so. It was a scoreless draw, as we said. In order to achieve that, what really Hernan Lozada wanted to do, he really chose his usual starting 11, with just some minor tweaks. So let's look at that starting 11.
Yes.
Can Eve? So in goal, we had Jonathan Sirois, as usual. As the right wing back, Zachary Broguillard in the middle of the defense, Joel Waterman with on his right, George Campbell, and on his left, Gabriela Corbo. As left wing back, we did have Lassila Panainen. As holding midfielders, we had a holding midfielder. We had Samuel Piet, and then we had like some sort of two offensive midfielders, even if sometimes they used to switch their roles between them, Mathieu Chouanière and Nathan Saliba. And up front, we had Mahala Opoku and Jules Anthony Vilsan. One great thing just happened with Romel Kyoto that was sitting on the bench. When you saw that lineup, Eve, first of all, were you surprised? And second of all, how happy were you to see Romel Kyoto on the bench?
Having sat through the lack of goals from Montreal as we go into talking about this, I'm like, oh God, here we go again. Having watched some Montreal players miss some golden chances that I think we can all agree Romel Kyoto would score on a typical day at the office. I was so thrilled to see him back. Was a little bit interesting to see Bryce Duke not in the starting 11, but I think we've all talked about it a lot. Mathieu Chouanière is most comfortable in the center of the midfield. How can you dislodge Nathan Saliba after being just on such a great rise the past several months, really? And of course, Sam Piet, no words needed. So overall, no, not too many huge surprises other than the return of Ramel Kyoto.
Anything to add, Elias? I think, Eve summed it up in a certain
much,
way, right?
yeah, exactly. Nothing really to add.
Exactly. But you know what? CF Montreal, prepared this game, and it looked like they really prepared this game to make sure that they win it. And they started the game guns blazing with a great pass from Nathan Saliba. We were just talking about him, to Zachary Braguillard, who really wanted to cross the ball, wasn't able to cross it properly. That was already an amazing chance from the get-go, right, Elias? Because this should have been a goal.
I thought he tried to trip the goalie, not cross it.
I also thought that, yeah.
Too. I don't know. I feel like he made it very deliberate to keep it near the first post. I thought that if he really wanted to cross it, he would have probably played it on the ground. But
like done like a cutback
it showed really good intention right away. I mean, they didn't really they didn't waste any time getting forward. They clearly had something planned and they had something worked on, maybe for the opening sequence of the game, and they got to use it right away. So I think that it was a very good. It was the perfect indicator of how the entire night was going to go.
Yeah, exactly. It was a dominating performance for CF Montreal. Unfortunately, they weren't able to capitalize on that domination. But on the 4th minute, Corbo with an amazing long ball on the right for Mahala Okopu, who gives it to Saliba on the run. The Montreal native controls it and takes a shot with his left foot. It just misses the target. But already, you talked a bit about it, Eve. How important has Nathan Saliba been for that side, for CF Montreal?
Yeah, it's been really fascinating to watch, I think, because the start of the season, I think he probably got more minutes than maybe anyone had anticipated he was going to get. He was drafted into the starting lineup really early in the season, and we'd seen some struggles. And I know all three of us, we were like, not sure he's ready, not sure. And whatever, adjustments Hernan Lozada made, obviously his game time did get reduced, and whatever work was getting put in on the training ground has done wonders for him. He seems so much more confident, so much more decisive. He seems a lot less hesitant when he's going to make plays, and he's confident enough to try a shot from outside the box, which is something Montreal could use a little more of. So no, it's been a really fascinating story, and I'm thrilled to see kind of we've been proven wrong a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. And you know what? What's really nice about Saliba is that he can play the different roles in the midfield, Elias, right? He can play the holding midfielder role, he can play the box-to-box role, and also he can play that as an offensive mid. This kind of player seems to be exactly what Hernan Lozada is looking for in those in that midfield, with Mathieu Choinière being able to play those roles also, and Saliba. He needs two midfielders that can play all these roles in order for their for his tactics to work, right, Elias?
Yeah, and I think that's another reason why we didn't see Bryce Duke last night, was because he had a specific way he wanted the midfield to be energized, and I think Nathan Saliba, Mathieu Choinière, and Samuel Piette are some of the best individual ball winners and workhorses you can have at this level and in MLS. So I think that having them in that midfield, kind of being the battery pack to all the other players, was super important. It's kind of indicative of where he is tactically and where the team is in terms of philosophy, and why we don't see that much of Victor Wanyama, because they're finally embracing this verticality that Hernan Lozada is trying to bring forward, and I think they're finally becoming comfortable with it, and it's becoming more and more evident that Victor Wanyama just does not necessarily fit into that idea.
Yeah, it looks like it's the end of Victor Wanyama with Montreal this season, but pretty sure we'll have plenty of time to talk about it at the end of the season. A few minutes later, 10 minutes later to be exact, around the 15th minute, Zachary Braguillard again got the ball on the right flank, crossed it, a very perfect cross for Mahala Opoku, and then Opoku with the header. I like the header that was like kind of, trying to beat Brady on the rebound in a certain way. And then Brady makes a very good save.
First of many.
First of many, exactly. But, we'll talk about the saves of Brady a bit later. But this save in particular wasn't really easy. But also, do you think Mahala Opoku could have done anything different, Eve? Do you think he could have controlled it and scored it more easily? Because he didn't have anybody on him. He beat both central defenders. He was in between the defenders, and there was enough time for him to control and score. What do you think about that chance?
I feel like, he was, I agree with you. Overall, he was perfectly placed in everything. He got a lot of really good power on the header, and if it weren't for Brady, the placement was also perfect. I really don't think so. I think maybe on a set piece, you have a little bit more time to be decisive about, which angle of the net. And I think when it's coming in the run of play, you get your head on it and get it on target is the main goal, particularly even though he was free. Obviously, defenders were starting to close in because they had finally cottoned on that he was there. So no, for me, this is an excellent save. Not a hugely missed opportunity.
Elias, you've been a defender at one point. And when you look at the defense and the way they handled the situation, if Opoku tried to control it and to shoot it, it would have been very hard for them to get back and really block the shot, right? The way they were positioned.
Yeah, exactly. It was kind of a very difficult. It was a borderline impossible position to be in as a defender, and also once a defender, always a defender. By the way,
yeah.
I think though, for the height that it came in at, I think his only option was going to be to head it. It was too high for him to head it down to control it. I think you're way too close to the net to do that, and
I think it was the right decision too.
Yeah, okay.
I think it was the right decision. Yeah. I just thought that maybe he could have done something better because with the header, like the way he received the ball, it was going to be very hard to score from here with a header. Like, I think
maybe those ones that almost chipped the keeper.
Yeah, but that would have been a fluke ball in a certain way.
Exactly.
So yeah, no, but I think he'd handled it very well in my opinion too. So I just was wondering if there was another option for him. But unfortunately, this wasn't the goal Montreal was expecting. And in the 23rd minute, that's when we really thought that it was going to be that first goal. We didn't have enough chances. We didn't create enough chances of set pieces this season. But on the 23rd minute, Mathieu Choinière, who's been the one taking the corners in the past few months, crosses the ball to George Campbell, who's very good with his head, and unfortunately, it lands directly on the crossbar. How unlucky are we, Elias? Like, this is not normal. Are we doomed? Are we? I don't know. Is there something like mystical around here?
I don't know if it's some kind of witchcraft. Sometimes it feels like that, but at the same time, you have to remember that teams would come to Montreal and experience the same thing, right? Montreal deservedly has this clean sheet record that they broke last night, but a lot of it comes from sometimes, frankly, inexplicable instances of the ball just not wanting to go in, right? And I think Montreal recently has gotten a very, very harsh taste of their own medicine. For better or for worse. Usually it's because they can finish. The game yesterday, I will give credit where credit is due. I think that Chris Brady had an outstanding game. I think once again, Montreal kind of got an idea of what it was like to play against Jonathan Sirois all season. And he stood on his head, and the chance for Opoku was one of those. But in a situation like that where you hit the crossbar, Mathieu Choinière, who's been a bit inconsistent with his corner delivery, hit it well. George Campbell met it perfectly, and it's just one of those where you just, every single other time it goes in, except that one time. So it's
yeah, it didn't every single other time it goes in. It never went in for Montreal.
Except for Montreal. Montreal's the exception,
normal.
Always. Yeah.
Now, Eve, on the following goal kick, Lassie got the ball and gave it to Choinière. He did a very good job on that play specifically, where he was able to really give the ball and slide it to Mathieu Choinière, who directly found a running Jules-Anthony Vilsan in space. And Jules-Anthony Vilsan really controlling the ball, going right through it, and shooting in a very difficult corner in the side netting. Unfortunately, he wasn't able to hit the target. When you look at that play, how important has Mathieu Choinière been for that team? Because he's everywhere.
Just in the context of this one play, have we not made his name the title of an episode yet this season? Because I know we did it last year.
It's not normal.
Yeah,
we should have because honestly,
we should have done it against Toronto.
The guy passing ability has been perfect. Crossing ability has been perfect. Shooting ability has been there. Scoring, assists, tackles, different positions. What more can we expect from that kid?
No, it's I know we've said it several times after huge games from him this season, because there have been more than a few. It's like the culmination of just years of hard work, starting at the academy, working his way up, overcoming injury struggles, and demonstrating exactly what you want in a midfielder. He seems to have 3 lungs. No, he's been fantastic. He's played anywhere they've called on him to play. I don't have a bad word to say, truly.
Exactly, and right after he showed his dribbling skills by just dribbling past 2 defenders and crossing the ball to running Vilsan, and unfortunately Vilsan wasn't at the end of it. But Elias, is there something else he needs to prove in order to show the world that he should be, he shouldn't be underrated anymore?
Yeah, now he's got to score 20 goals a year. No, I mean, look, what you expect from your box to box is every single box he ticks it, right? You've just said everything that is needed of him. He does it with a smile on his face, and this is somebody that has never shied away from taking one for the team. In terms of his style of play, he's been very accommodating, and he's finally reaping the benefits of that. And he's getting his time in the sun, and he's also getting time in the sun in his preferred position. So I think that anything more that you can get from Mathieu Choinière at this point is gravy. Because if this is his floor from now on, then you have a future club legend, and you've got an extra, almost a decade ahead of you with him if you're lucky.
Yeah, exactly, and I don't think we'll see, and we talked about it a bit, Elias, at one point. I don't think we'll see Mathieu Choinière leaving the club anytime soon. So hopefully we'll see him, play his whole career with CF Montreal, and I think everybody will be very, very, very happy to see that. Now, nothing really happened until the end of the half. I think Chicago got their first shot on goal around the 44th minute.
It wasn't like a big threat.
Yeah, at the 44th minute, that was the only shot on goal they had, and it wasn't, as you said, Yves, a big threat. At halftime, it was inexplicably still 0-0. You're Hernan Losada, Yves. What do you tell your team? Because they didn't do anything wrong in that first half.
No, that's the thing is, it's inexplicable. They had a variety of different types of scoring opportunities. It wasn't that, it was just, crosses and headers, or it wasn't just coming off of set pieces. They had a multitude, and they had a multitude of different shooters. They had what you would want an offensive display to be, finally, for the first, almost it feels like the first time, except for when they played Toronto. It feels like it, or Minnesota, I guess. It feels like it's been an eternity since we've seen that kind of emphasis on attacking the opposition's net. And so that's the thing. I would have told them, just keep trying. Law of averages is going to have to go in at some point.
Exactly. There was nothing to add, but Elias, of course, after a half like this, when you dominated that much, it's very rare to see the team come out of the dressing room still very pumped. So it's normal to see the team, unfortunately, just sit behind a bit and just handle the pressure in a certain way, and that's exactly what we saw at the beginning of the second half, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think Montreal continued that energy, but Chicago did well in the first half. Chicago did a very good job towards the end of just kind of taking the wind out of the game
Yeah.
and just slowing it down to a halt. And like I think that was their goal for the remainder of the game. And if you get lucky and hit back on the counter, then you do. But if you could take a 0-0 draw, then you take that gladly, and they will take that gladly. But Montreal, credit to them, they came out with a lot of energy, and it was kind of a battling philosophies where Montreal would get their chances, but Chicago did a very good job of kind of just slowing the game down and breaking momentum, not necessarily with offense of their own, but just keeping the ball, putting the ball out, letting Montreal pass around the back. So they did very good. They had very good moments of just managing the game when it got sticky for them.
Yeah.
We
Now, yeah.
We do have a comment that came in. It might be
Yeah.
a timely moment to
Go ahead.
talk about it right now. It's from Wellington Sauvé. Says, I have some doubts about Lozada's coaching competency. I could be wrong, but that's the way I feel right now. I think we've had our share of doubts here on the Balls round.
Yeah.
But for me last night, would be one of there's only one criticism I have, and it comes later. So.
Oh, okay. I'll give my thoughts right away. I don't think that last night was a poor coaching. For me, it's just lack of talent up front, or lack of chance, lack of luck, because it's we can't say only lack of talent, because at the end of the day, there was also Montreal was very unlucky too, because and we'll talk about the rest of the chances a bit later, but at one point you're like, it's just God doesn't want us to score in a certain way, or whoever's up there. So it's just, it was, as we said a bit earlier, unexplicable. And tactically, Hernando Sada really dominated that game, and he outplayed his Frank Lopez. As simple as that. Because if Frank Lopez, as Elias said, at one point they were able to slow the game down at the end of the first half and get the upper hand a bit in the first 10-15 minutes of the second half, but that's it. The rest of the game, it was Montreal chance after chance after chance after chance. So I don't think it's a coaching problem, in my opinion, but I might be wrong. But I just think that it's just lack of chance and lack of talent. Elias, do you have anything more on that?
Yeah, I agree with you in most part. I think that my only problem with Losada ball is that it needs too pristine a condition for it to work at its fullest right now, at least, right? And in its current iteration with the current squad, it needs the right opponent. It needs the right opponent's play style. They need to be willing to play open. They need to not sit back and hold a low block. And part of it comes down to how Losada wants to play, but also part of it comes down to, like you said, Hady, the talent on the field. At the end of the day, there isn't one player that can pull a rabbit out of his hat and create a goal. And even Romel Kyoto, who does have that ability, if we see him for more than 5 games in a row, then we can have that conversation. But we haven't seen Romel Kyoto sink his teeth into this playstyle, so that isn't something that we can talk about with authority. So I think that he has the right idea, and he definitely has the right personnel up until you get to the front line. And I think the front line has the right idea. I think that there's a lot of youth there, and there's a very high ceiling on a lot of the attackers there. But I think that once you get up to the front line, that's where Losada ball hits a bit of a speed bump, and then that's where you need that kind of tactical flexibility that a coach that's more in tune with his team would, right? Remember, this is still his first year, and it's been a doozy of a year, right? It has by no means been smooth sailings off the pitch, right? With
Yeah.
everything that's happened, injuries, trade requests, stuff we'll get to later. You know, so all
But that's
things
Montreal,
considered,
right? It's always been
Yeah.
that way.
it's Montreal. So
Last year, though, there
all
were
things
not a lot of
considered,
injuries. I will
Yeah.
say, like
Yeah,
last year.
last year
oh,
really was an example of how everything, if
yeah,
everything goes
but
perfectly, that's
Yeah.
no, but a lot of things off the pitch that
Yes,
happen
that
too,
is
right?
true.
Because
That is true.
it's always in Montreal. It's
but like,
never
Yeah.
a smooth breeze off the
and
pitch, unfortunately.
even then, everything went perfectly, but Montreal still missed out of what, like 5 or 6 games without Georgi Mihailovic. They still missed out on the standard amount of no Romel Kyoto. So there's still things that could have gone better for Montreal
Yeah,
last year. But
I agree.
this year has been an experiment in Murphy's Law, right? Anything that can go wrong has gone wrong for them this year. So I
Yeah.
think that with all that considered, the fact that Losada even has his team in playoff contention is
Miraculous.
is a very good job at the least. At the very
Yeah,
least, a
I
good
agree.
job, right? So I think that I believe everybody is in agreement that next year is the real
Yeah,
proof of concept,
It's-
right? We've seen Losada Ball at its best. We've seen it at its worst.
yeah,
You
yeah.
will not have a whole off season. You will get, if anybody comes in, it's your guys that you want brought in, or you and Olivier Renard and Vasily Kremenzi. This is people that are brought in. So they're brought in with your ideas.
Yeah.
Next
No, I
year
agree.
is the real litmus test for Hernando
It's
Losada
the
before we
first
can-
year of the new cycle. We said it quite
Yeah.
a few times here on the Ball This
Exactly.
Round. So let's take a look at what we're able to do this year, and then next year will be the year where we're supposed to push for better. So let's look at that. Now, there was a few half chances for Chicago at the beginning of the first half. Nothing really dangerous until that 60th minute with Kamara getting the ball, but sending a weak shot.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I was like, you're calling this one dangerous? Okay.
But it was dangerous in the build-up because Kamara could have.
Kai Kamara anywhere is dangerous, right?
Exactly. So he was in a good position, but the shot was weak. It was saved by Jonathan Sirois.
Yeah.
At the 60th minute, but just a couple of minutes earlier, Hernando Losada made his first changes, and at the same time, Frank Klopas made his change. I think it's going to be very important that we mention that because Frank Klopas had Marin Haile Selassie get off the pitch with Xherdan Shaqiri coming on the pitch. He was on the bench at the beginning of the game and coming on the 57th minute. And he had some sort of impact on the game afterwards. He was, I think, very dangerous whenever he had the ball, Xherdan Shaqiri. And at the same time, we saw some very interesting changes from Hernando Losada with Ariel Lassiter coming in for Lassi Lapalainen and Chinonso 4 coming in for Jules Anthony Vilsan. Yves, when you look at those changes, what did you think of them? Did you think it was the right decision from Hernando Losada?
Well, we're pretty used to seeing Lassie come out around the 60th minute, so I was not remotely surprised by that at all. He had been having a decent match, but, we've come to expect, I think, that his tank hits empty around this point of the match, so no huge surprise there. Obviously, I would have significantly preferred to see Romel Kyoto come in over a 4. Goes without saying, I think. But would have been really surprising if he maybe was up to playing a full 30-ish minutes. And he did come in later, so I'm thinking that was probably just managing his capacity as he returns to fitness for the last few games. I saw somewhere online that it was an injury substitution for Vilsan. Does that make any sense?
Yeah. He came off injured.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, I didn't fully absorb that, I don't think. And it makes a little more sense now that I realize it was an injury-related substitution because, as I am often want to say, Chinonso 4 is where promising attacks go to die a little bit. So
I kind of understand the tactical move that Hernando Losada was trying to do. He needed a tall striker that can win headers because he knew that he was able to be dangerous on crosses if he had somebody that can win those headers in the box. And we saw Chinonso for winning a lot of headers most of the time, not especially in very dangerous positions. He did one a bit later, and we'll talk about that later.
Yeah.
but I kind of understand why 04 came in, and I think it was very intelligent. I love the fact that he um, he went with Ariel Lassiter as a left wing back. I love it because that's a game that was, for me, the game for a guy like Ariel Lassiter.
Mm-hmm.
Elias, do you agree with me? I think Ariel was it was his game. It was his game. It was his kind of game.
Yeah, and you saw just how much success Broguiard was having on the right side, and with that pacey that pacey fullback on their strong side with the ability to cross the ball or cut it back or even try a shot at the far post. That's something that Broguiard excels at, and something that Ariel Lassiter has become very good at too. Um, and I understand why Lassie got the start, and I think that Ariel Lassiter's struggle with fitness has been, a bit longer than maybe the club had hoped. He's been a sub now. I think it's his third or fourth game in a row now where he's come off the bench as a substitute for either Messer Schwanier or Lassie Lappalainen, who started in that position. But I still think that it should be the other way around. When everybody's fit, I think that Lassie Lappalainen is far more effective as a substitute, where you give him half an hour and say, you know what, Lassie, go nuts, and you let him run wild. I think Ariel Lassiter just has from a fitness standpoint, I think he's more suited to maybe play through the ebbs and flows of the opening minutes of a game, and then when you get really into the 30th and the 40th minute, when the game kind of gets bogged down in the tactics of it and there's less energy, you need someone like that who's a bit of a spark plug, who can kind of pick his head up and dribble to people and maybe energize the crowd again, especially in a game where you have the ball for the majority of the time and you have all the attacking.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. I would have liked to see Lassiter start the game and then Lassie come in after, but I think it was a good move looking at the way Montreal was playing and Chicago was playing too. So nothing really happened for the next few minutes until the other changes of Hernan Lozada. And these ones were very interesting, with Romel Kyoto coming in for Kwadwo Opoku, so Mahala Opoku, and Bryce Duke coming in for Zachary Broguiard, with Mathieu Chouanière taking the right wingback position. When you saw those changes, again, we've seen the versatility of Mathieu Chouanière being utilized, which is really interesting, I think, for a coach. But also, that standing ovation for Romel Kyoto, I think for me it was weird.
It was kind of extra. It was. I think also though, Montreal, especially as like in the context of this season as a whole, but then especially after so many opportunities, more so early on in the match, but nonetheless, after so many opportunities without a goal in this game, and after really just such a low goal output all season, I think all in all, Montreal was just thirsty for a player who they knew can score a goal, who they know that they can rely upon, because it's been so hit and miss all season with the various substitute starting strikers. So I think that's a huge part of it. And I mean, he has managed to endear himself to the Montreal public during his past 3 seasons with the club.
Yeah. Elias?
I mean, absence makes the heart grow fonder, right? That's basically it. That's the only reason I think that they were. I knew it was going to be a positive reaction, but the only reason it was basically as thought as a goal was because it's been 5 months, and Montreal's clearly been pining for a goal scorer. So seeing him come on, who wouldn't get excited?
But you know what? It's not him that really created most chances or got the most chances. It's Bryce Duke. That was so interesting coming on the pitch. On the 81st minute, Lassiter got the ball, gave it to Bryce Duke. Bryce Duke, that was really nice, just finding that pocket of space from Lassiter to Duke, and then Duke crossing the ball. It was a great cross. Yeah. Unfortunately, Shinonso 4 didn't react really quickly, and that should have been in the back of the net.
It absolutely should have been. Yeah. Yes. And there was a part of me that was hoping maybe one of the Chicago defenders would pull a Gabriela Corbo from last week. But yeah, unfortunately, Chinonso 4's reaction time was slow.
Yeah, very slow. I agree. That was very unfortunate because Duke played a wonderful ball. I think I don't think he could have done anything better in my opinion.
No.
And
Exactly.
we do have a question from one of our listeners. I think Wellington again. That's asking if we do like 04 or not. We don't like or dislike 04. It's just he's just a player with CF Montreal. I don't know what to say.
Yeah. I think he can be very frustrating to watch. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. 100%. But I think when we think about his profile in the context of the strikers available to Montreal, he does have a different profile than Mahalo Opoku, than Jules-Anthony Toussaint. He's probably the closest, but it's still really far.
Yeah.
Closest to a Romel Kyoto that Montreal has had. Well, Kyoto's been absent because of his and as well because of his physicality.
Yeah.
But and you mentioned, of course, the ability to win headers. But
he's a target man. He's a target man.
Yeah, exactly. But we've all been pretty unanimous consistently that technically it ain't there.
He's subpar, 100%. He's really subpar.
Yeah.
Just to answer, because I see it was a question, and I just wanted to make sure we answered.
At the same time, though, one thing that has to kind of be maybe acknowledged is that Jules-Anthony Toussaint's hold-up play last night was very strong.
He excites me,
especially for someone his age who hasn't necessarily grown into the professional game. He was going shoulder to shoulder and he was holding up the ball, and his physical play was very impressive. He wasn't winning as many headers as someone like Chinonso 4 does, but when it comes to getting the ball with his back to the net, he was not being, he was not being moved around like he was 20 years old. He was, he was holding his own physically, which is very nice. And he even got over on, both center backs a number of times when just pressing the ball. So, I think that, when it comes to an alternative for the big, strong target man striker, if you ask that of Jules-Anthony Toussaint, he is capable of doing that somewhat. I just think that it comes more naturally at Chinonso 4, if that's what you're looking for.
No, for sure. Now, on the 87th minute, and Elias, you did talk about Jean-Antoine Sirois, breaking that record for the clean sheets in a season, 11, breaking Evan Bush record. He did make a save on Gutierrez that wasn't easy at all on his 87th minute, even catching the ball, which was very impressive. Mm-hmm. But when you think about it, Jonathan Sirois didn't have much to do yesterday, right?
No. As far as, even the games where he's kept a clean sheet, Montreal has made it a habit of keeping him quite busy.
Yeah.
But today was probably one of the easier nights that he's had, right? And that's also a credit to the back line in front of him, who probably had arguably their best game of the season. Joe Waterman, who probably definitely had his best game as that middle center back. Because again, keeping Kai Kamara in your back pocket is not something that every center back can say they've done. Not many at all. So
even Campbell and Corbo were really good too.
They were very good at handling, the other mid-game threats, because Kai Kamara is at the same time, he's an excellent decoy just because of his stature and his ability. He's great to draw all the attention and let other people around him succeed. So the fact that Corbo and Campbell were not victimized either, and everybody kind of kept their shape, and it was just all around a very good performance. So yeah, Jonathan Sirois, with the season he's had, absolutely deserves a night off, or a night where he hasn't had to sweat too much.
Of course. At the 89th minute, Eve, the cross from Romel Kyoto on the left, 04 with the header, winning the header.
Yep. In a dangerous position.
In a very dangerous position. There was a save from Brady.
There was also a save.
What that was the hell? Handball.
Yeah.
And no penalty. And
I'm so
unfortunately,
confused.
I am confused. I cannot understand anything anymore. I just read someone that's saying, oh yeah, it's the natural position of the hand. I'm like, no. It was just no. I'm sorry. This should have been a pen.
Like
What do you think?
For me, it at least has to be looked at least has to be scrutinized. I found it weird that because Mathieu Choinière was also really close to that play.
He didn't see it.
No,
I didn't
exactly.
see it. I didn't see it at all. I saw it on the replay. I think the second
Yeah.
replay, not even the first one.
Yeah.
I saw it on the second replay, and I think when I was watching it also and watching, I watched the highlights afterwards in French and in English, and both commentators saw it on the second replay and not the first replay, which is really, really weird. Elias, you're the one that that was able to maybe ask questions to the referee. Did you see it? Were you able to ask the question? No, huh?
I only found out about this last night when I got home. And I opened up Twitter.
Same.
I opened up Twitter and I was like, there was a handball?
Did you learn your lesson? Are you gonna open it before you ask the ref next time?
Well, I mean, there was no question for the ref tonight. There was no question for the ref tonight. But had I seen that replay, then a question definitely would have been asked. Because I had a conversation about this with my brother, and we are going to talk about this a bit more after. But his understanding of it is that VAR has certain plays that they're asked to review. They have very specific guidelines. They don't just have a carte blanche to just review whatever they think is kind of suspicious. And we had a disagreement about this, but his argument is that even though his arms are up around his shoulder, if the arm is not above shoulder height, it can be argued that it's not.
Man, I've seen so many
when you
plays.
jump, you don't jump with your arms glued.
His arm was there.
His arm was basically at shoulder height if you look at the replay.
Yeah,
the thing
but
is,
Elias,
that looked really weird. I'm not agreeing with him. I'm telling you the perspective of my brother, who's a provincial referee, and what his breakdown of it was. Right, I'm not in agreement, but at the same time, if that's like, it's kind of like beating your head against the wall, because if that's their ironclad premise, then there's no. You show them the picture, then go, that's the premise. There's no changing the mind, right? That's not how that works. If that's the box, refs can't really think outside the box. They have a very, very
but like,
dirty.
I'm sorry.
Like, did Emil comment on this one?
Huh?
No, I was gonna check.
Not yet.
I'm
pretty sure he's gonna put. There's gonna be an article in Vieux-Parc. Guys, if you read French, if you're able to understand French, Vieux-Parc is a great blog where you can go and read some very interesting stuff from our friend Eric Choinière, so if you want to, but also Émile Archambault, who talks about the referees whenever there's something that's a bit suspicious or controversial.
We did retweet the video if you want to go see for yourself, and I can't wait to see what the pro referee weekly,
we'll see,
assessment of the VAR calls or VAR non-calls has to say about that, because
it's not going to give us more points, right? So
nope.
Moving on.
Sounds like something I'd say, Hady.
90th minute, Choinière with a cross that was pushed by Brady. Duke had a wide open net and then shoots it on Brady.
Yeah.
What went on that play? Because this should have been a goal. This is not normal. Eve, just tell me, what did you do? Your pessimism is just not normal. It's just starting to affect the players.
It's contagious.
It is.
I watched it and I was like, how? I was speechless, honestly. I think I still am speechless, judging by my stuttering and stammering here. I wonder if you had left them out there all night long with just not even with the goalie. Would they have scored?
I don't think they would have scored. Elias,
how it felt.
Elias, for me, it was clear this goal should have been like this ball should have been shot differently, like
anywhere else, literally.
Anywhere else, exactly.
Yeah, I mean, it
It's
was
easy
a
to
really
say afterwards,
weird.
right?
Yeah.
Exactly right. Hindsight is 2020, and Bryce Duke did speak about it after the game, where he kind of broke down his point of view and his maybe his thought process, and he was on his weak foot, so there was a wide open spot. But the thing is, when you have to get it up and over a defender or something like that with your weak foot, it's not a sure thing. So he went for a bit of a more direct
Mm-hmm.
Approach.
angle, if you will.
Yeah.
And Brady just got there because that was the most obvious angle.
Yeah.
So his instinct was to hit it in the spot where if you hit it, it's great, but if you miss it, then it's a goal kick, right? So he
Yeah.
wanted the lower risk shot, if you will. And in a
Yeah.
game like that where nothing's going right, I do understand the urge to keep it simple, because it's situations like that where you try and hit it perfectly into the top corner where just put it on net and good things will
Yeah.
happen. So that's the case where you put it on net and good things didn't happen. So I
Yeah.
do understand, but at the same time, you watch that and you go, like Eve said, like you can go to extra time, you can give them an extra 90 minutes, and they may not score, because you know what, when there's a force field in front of the net,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
doesn't want to go in.
On the 92nd minute, Bryce Duke again. Just across, it gives the ball to Lassiter. Crosses the ball to in the box. It was handled by a defender, a Chicago defender. Unfortunately, came back for Chicago. Unfortunately, came
Handled,
back
like
to
handled isn't
Lassiter.
dealt with, not handballed.
Yeah.
I
You said
said
handled. Yes.
Well, handled also means handball.
Yeah.
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 Like, okay. Yeah. So then it was, it came to Ari Lassiter that unfortunately shot the ball directly on Brady again.
All right. And Chan's been saving this one.
Is it a sitter? Is it a sitter? I think we're being too harsh on Ari Lassiter. This was not an easy shot. This was not an easy shot.
No,
It could
and
have been completely
it was
off
an
target.
even more difficult save, right? Let call a spade here.
Oh, it was right on him, man.
That was not right on him. He still had to get up, and that was going into the roof of net, right? That was still the roof of the net and a bit away from him. He still had to react extremely quickly, and it was up to his left. So it was still a very impressive save. But it's one of those where just put the ball on net, right? Yes,
Yeah.
could he have shown a little bit more composure and maybe just like tucked it into a bottom corner? Yes, but at the same time, it was a first time shot in the 92nd minute, and he got it on target. And for a fullback / winger who was shooting with his weak foot, he got it on target, which is more than what some of the other players have done, right? So it's one of those where it's just like, repeat 90 minutes, an extra 90 minutes, and they're not scoring.
Yeah, it was like more of the same.
One of many chances that unfortunately CF Montreal wasn't able to convert. At the end of the day, it's a scoreless draw. It's 1 point. Big missed opportunity to just put the Fire 5 points away from us. Unfortunately, they weren't able to do so. But the only good thing that happened is that all the other teams didn't win either.
Exactly.
So thank God CF Montreal is still in the 8th position.
Misery loves company.
Exactly. But it was still an encouraging game. Even in a way, the chances created were very, very interesting. Like, there was some fluidity in that team. There was some...
But a moral
we
victory
didn't see a stale 0-0.
No,
right?
but you don't get any points for a moral victory.
It's not a moral victory. I'm saying that at one point, it's going to go in. It's just not normal.
Well, I would have thought that too.
Yeah, but like, if you continue on creating those kind of chances, at one point it's going to go in. Like, in the next games, in the future games.
Law of averages,
I busted that out a few minutes ago. Yes. No, but now like there's part of me that's worried because.
But you're always worried.
I am always worried. I'm like, they're never gonna score again. Never, ever. No more goals the rest of the season.
Elias, let's look at the predictions of Robbie, because Robbie is
Okay.
starting to sound a bit like Eve, giving his predictions for the final 6 games of the season. Cincinnati for him 0 points, in Atlanta 0 points, in Orlando 0 points, against Houston at home 1 point, against Portland 3 points, and in Columbus 0 points. What do you think if you had to answer Robbie? And of course, Eve, I know you hate predictions, but you're gonna have to do. Robbie's asking for predictions, so
look, against Cincinnati,
they're so good.
It could not have come at a better time for Montreal to play them. They just got out of a 2-2 dogfight with Philadelphia. They got sent off. They have a player sent off. They're on the road again. So this could not have, again, at no point is it ideal to play Cincinnati. But if you could pick any time to play them, a build-up like this is what you're hoping for. Montreal.
And at home.
Right? Especially at home, right? If it's on the road, it's
we saw how it went on the road. It didn't go
exactly right. But Montreal has made it a habit of rising to the level of their opponents at home and occasionally dropping to the level of their opponents at home.
Mm-hmm.
But when they play the top teams in the East, if you look at Philadelphia, you look at Nashville, you look at New England, you look at all these teams that they have not only beat but handled comfortably, then that is not something you can ignore. Now, Cincinnati has been a cut above all those teams all season, which is why their best chance really is the fact that this will hopefully be a tired,
maybe super
rotated, because again, Cincinnati does have a healthy safety net at the top, and they have all but clinched the Eastern Conference. But at the same time, they're in a supporter shield.
Oh yeah, they're 9 points ahead of the second team for the supporter shield.
Exactly.
So sorry, 8 points, not 9.
If they see Montreal, who struggled, and they go, "This is a chance for us to rotate our squad for the last few games of the season," then Montreal will. They would not kick that out of bed, right? So, look, if Montreal can get a point against Cincinnati, awesome.
Yeah.
As far as the 2 Western Conference teams coming to Montreal, we spoke about this. They have to beat the 2 Western Conference teams. I understand that Houston is in the form of their lives.
I was going to say Houston's good this year. They've been terrible the last couple of years. Montreal's played them.
Sorry, one sec. I just want to add something. Is Houston that good, or is the Western Conference that weak? Because
the Western Conference is so tight.
One sec. It's not only tight, but look at the record of the first team in the Western Conference. St. Louis has 15 wins, 4 draws, 10 losses. That's the number 1 in the West. 10 losses, the number 1 in the West. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what's going to happen. But predictions, just quickly, Elias, without breaking down each game.
Robbie said 4 points. I think closer to 6. All things considered,
6 points out of 6 games.
I think that's not at all ridiculous, especially given that 3 of them are at home.
Wow.
I think that's not at all ridiculous, given
only
how
6 points
at home. Only
for 6 games.
Yeah,
that's a point a game.
I'll take it.
Wow. Okay, so we're missing the playoffs then. Okay,
I don't think so.
I do.
I don't think so.
Well, I actually don't think they're going to beat Houston. I think they're going to draw Houston, and that's
so
the
4
best
points.
I'm not. Portland are so bad that if Portland beats Montreal, I don't know what to say. And I say that knowing full well that some not so hot teams have beaten Montreal this year. So I do think they're going to win against Portland. I think they're going to get a draw against Houston. I think maybe they can pull off a draw in Orlando. Actually, you know what? I'm going to change my mind. I think maybe they can pull off a draw in Orlando, because Orlando has been a little bit.
They're really good this year.
Yeah, they are.
They beat Montreal. Already beat them once this season.
Yeah, but now they're getting. They're
no, I agree with you, but no, that they've been a bit hot and cold, and they've still continued to concede their fair share of goals. So with a healthy Romel Kyoto, maybe he makes his return to Orlando, and doesn't do something silly. and instead scores a goal. And I actually have changed my mind mid-sentence, and I've decided that they are not going to get a point against Houston. I think, yes, the West is weird this year for sure, but I think Houston are hot under Ben Olsen of all people.
Wow. Okay, so how
I'm
many
at
points?
4 points.
Just 4 points?
I'm Team Robbie on this one.
So like Robbie, I say 8 points.
Wow.
Yeah, I say 8 points. I like what I'm seeing from CF Montreal. I feel that we'll get 2 wins at home and two wins at home and a draw away and another draw at home. So 2 wins.
Undefeated at home for the rest of the season?
Yeah.
More power to you.
Yeah, I really think that we are going to get 8 points until the end of the season and finish in 8th position. So let's wait and see. So that's it for you, Robbie. Moving on with the questions, we have a couple more.
We do. We don't think we have too many orders, so I'm just gonna take them as I see them.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. First up, simple guy. Which of our forwards will be back next year? Oh, sorry. I'm just going ahead and reading. Go for it, Hady.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead.
All right. Which of our forwards will be back next year? Which of our forwards should be back next year? Important distinguish. In my opinion, it's time to say goodbye to Toy, Ibrahim, and Ofor. I also believe Kyoto will not be re-signed.
I agree with the simple guy. Toy, Ibrahim, and Kyoto will not be back. I'm not sure for Ofor. I think he'll still be here next year. He shouldn't be here if we sign someone, a quality striker.
Mhm.
But either way, I think he will be here. So yeah, that's my opinion. Keith?
Yeah, I agree that I think Ofor is going to be here unless Montreal can find a way to offload him onto another team. And I'm thinking it won't be in MLS, maybe somewhere that doesn't have access to view MLS highlights, maybe. Yeah, I sadly agree. Toy and Ibrahim seems to be the end of the road. Kyoto kind of seems to be the end of the road as well. Vincent absolutely should be here, 100%. I am.
Yeah, for sure.
I am ready for that. But yeah, out of our strikers, he's kind of the only one who I can feel good about sticking around. Oh, that's sad.
Elias?
Well, first off, I don't know why you guys are saying that Sunusi has to leave, because at the end of the day, who else is going to score during the Canadian? Who else is going to score during the Canadian Championship? You still have to win the trophy. Who's going to score then? Nobody.
Matko Miljevic. Oh, oops.
Nobody scores during Canadian
Ahead
Championship.
of yourself.
And Sunusi has to break the record. He's like 2 goals away from the all-time record in the Canadian Championship.
So
listen,
he literally is. He's like 9 goals.
I
think
Sunusi.
Dwayne Rosario has 11.
I'm going to tell you, I like
think Sunusi and Mason Toy, especially with Mahala and Hussein and how good they are, and if they sign another forward after assuming Kyoto leaves, I think that players like Mason Toy and Sunusi Ibrahim would make very strong rotational forwards.
But how many rotational forwards are you gonna have? You have Vilsan, you have
if you play with 2 strikers,
second,
if you play with 2 strikers and you have 5 total, that's fine for me.
Okay, 1 sec. So you have Vilsan, you have Opoku, you have Sunusi, like you said, the striker that you're gonna sign, and Ofor.
I would pick Mason Toy over Ofor. I personally, with what Losada needs from his striker, I would pick Mason Toy over Chinonzo Ofor.
But he doesn't have the same profile.
However,
I don't know.
I think that you can get more out of Mason Toy with the way that Losada wants to play than Chinonzo Ofor.
Interesting.
And then Losada clearly does not agree because Chinonzo Ofor is the one getting the minutes. Either way, I think Ofor and Sunusi would be very strong rotational forwards as well. Same thing as Toy and Sunusi. But I think that when you have it, should they sign another top striker, those 3 will be the top 3, and then you have whichever other 2.
Did you click on that one, Chen, or did I?
Well, Losada rated him before, and then look,
he unrated him.
Every single forward on this team has at some point been in the doghouse and been the star boy.
Yeah.
Except for Mahala. except for
Yeah.
Mahala and Kyoto. Every other forward has been both
Kyoto
leave
was
my
in
club
Renard's
and
doghouse.
I desperately need you, right?
Yeah.
So I think that it's more of a matter of form and stuff like that, which is
Mhm.
why it's good to have him as a rotational player, because then if he gets hot, you can get
Yeah.
him in as a sub, and if not, that's the role.
Okay, right on. Shall we move on
Yeah.
to, because we have a total of 4 questions to roll through.
Yes. We have a couple more. We have one from Sam.
Sam. So, which salaries do you guys expect to be dumped during the off season? Matko, Victor, Mason, and likely Rommel will be gone. And how will this money be spent by Renard and company?
Ooh.
I would actually just remove the word how. Will this money be spent?
Listen, you need players. They're well aware of this. They know they need players. They will sign players for those that are leaving. I don't think we're going to see only projects. I think we are going to see some veteran players, maybe a couple, because you have to replace the leadership of Wanyama and Kyoto. And when I say leadership, it's just the leadership, the technical leadership, or the dressing room leadership. It's all kinds of leadership that you can have in a soccer team. So they will be replaced. Now, I don't know by who or anything, but I don't think we'll see only projects, in the off season. That's my feeling. I don't think we're going to go and sign a player for 10 million or 5 million. No, I don't think this is going to happen either. But I'm pretty sure we're going to see, a bit like the move that we saw when Wanyama signed with CF Montreal. I wouldn't be surprised if I see that.
Okay, fair enough.
Said it before, left back and striker.
Let's wait and see.
Everything else is okay, but left back and striker.
Let's wait and see.
I do agree with all the names that Sam mentioned to be leaving.
Yeah, same. We'll talk about that during the offseason a lot more, Sam.
For sure.
But right now, we kind of agree with you, and we only have feelings for now. So let's wait and see until we see rumors come in,
all that
sources left and right, and we'll see what we can get from that transfer market.
And our final question from Twitter: who do you start up front and at the 10 position versus Cincy on Wednesday?
That's a very, very interesting question.
I would do this unless there's questions of fatigue, and obviously Vincent came off injured, so there's going to be a question of fitness there. But for me, if Mahala and Vincent are fit, I start them together.
No, he said number 10, right?
And you can have up front and number 10.
Okay, sorry, I didn't see the rest of the question. I agree. I wouldn't change anything. The reason behind it is that I really love when Duke comes in as a sub.
Yeah.
I think he's very interesting when he comes in as a sub. And also I like the duo Saliba Chouanière.
Yeah.
I really like it in the middle of the pitch.
I think we are going to need to be very mindful of Cincinnati's offensive prowess and Lucho Acosta in the midfield. I wonder if we might not see Nathan, if it is a suit, let's say hypothetically, love a hypothetical, if it is the same midfield formation, because with Lucho Acosta pulling the strings in the midfield, I think Nathan Saliba is going to be forced to play a more conservative
It's going to drop
role.
a bit more, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Because Sam Piet is there, obviously, but Acosta is in phenomenal form once again this season.
Nah.
And
he didn't play the last game.
No, he didn't, which I don't know why, because I don't follow Cincinnati closely enough, but I was like, oh my God, are they just saving him for Montreal?
Maybe.
That's my great fear.
We'll see. Anything to add, Elias? We both answered, Eve and I.
No, copy paste.
Copy paste.
Might as well.
Yeah. Love it.
All right.
Do you have any other questions?
No, that's it.
Good. So let's move on to the second segment. I don't think we're going to take too much time on it, because unless you're living on the rock, I'm pretty sure that you all know what happened with Matko Miljevic.
Also, I just don't think discussing him deserves a lot of time because I'm not very impressed.
Yeah, I know, Eve. I was sure you were gonna say that, and I was sure you were gonna tell me just before when I was doing the program. You were gonna tell
I was
me,
like, we're
"Do we
gonna.
really need to talk about this?"
I was like,
and I'm like, "Yes, Eve, we
no,
need to
we
talk
need to
about
talk
this."
about it, but
We can
I
acknowledge its
just,
existence and nothing more.
I just want to be on the record that I'm not very impressed.
So, Matko Miljevic.
Oh, okay. I'm gonna pop out the tweet. Sorry,
Yeah.
did I jump too quickly?
So unless you're living under a rock, as we said, Matko went and played with an amateur league. He punched another player or spectator during a game, and now he's suspended from that league. At the same time, he played, I think, 3 games before under a false name before they realized that it was here.
Really a false name?
Yeah, it was
I just can't believe like nobody recognized
Nicholas Sotelo. That was the name that Tony Marinaro came out with. Nicholas Sotelo.
If you look at his player profile.
Yes, because afterwards the league realized that it was him, and told him you cannot play under a false name. You need to change your name and to put your right name, and then he's put his name.
Well, he didn't put his real name, but
yeah, whatever. So yeah, this is what happened. Tony Marinaro reported right after today, saying that Matko Miljevic contract was terminated. So let's talk about all this. First of all, as soon as I heard the news, for me, it was a contract termination, 100%.
Yeah.
GTFO.
You can't do that. I'm
There's
sorry.
There's just so much wrong with the whole story because on the original story that was broken in Dans les coulisses, he had also spit on somebody.
Yeah.
Which is even worse.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We have to mention Dans les coulisses. Thanks, Yves.
Yeah.
For sure. Dans les coulisses, Max Truman that came out with that with the story. Props to him. Really good job to get that story.
Yeah. And obviously we haven't heard any commentary from the club on it. Like no official statements have been released yet, but as we said, Tony Marinaro tweeted that Matko's contract had been terminated, and there's no other solution.
Yeah,
maybe criminal charges, depending on what the person who was punched decides.
Yeah,
I think the threat of criminal charges is what led to the lifetime ban from the league.
Yeah,
so
you can't go around punching people.
You cannot. That is true. And look, I think that, you know what, when I saw that, I thought even if he did keep his contract, just wasn't going to get re-signed for obvious reasons. If by some
there was some clause that said you can go play in a
no, but it was an open investigation, right? It wasn't just
your body is how you make your money, but sure, go for it.
It wasn't just automatic contract termination, right? There was an investigation and everything. I thought if by some chance that his contract wouldn't immediately be terminated, he just wouldn't get re-signed.
I just can't.
But yeah, I mean, look, it was clear that the Matko Miljevic project was nice while it happened, but it really just didn't end up panning out.
Okay.
It was nice to think about. You have a weird
definition of nice.
Well, I mean, there was a lot of potential there, and I think there was definitely some moments where he could have picked up that mantle and just never ended up panning out. Part of it, you know, had to do with a bit of bad luck injury-wise, but at the end of the day, it's going to be a weird part of CF Montreal trivia now.
Yeah.
And I think that, you know, just won't think about it that much ever again.
Nope.
I agree with Chan. Montreal must be happy to get rid of his contract, of him and his contract. Yeah. I completely agree. He hasn't shown anything on the pitch. You know, yes, he has a lot of vision. He has a lot of vision, but he never was able to live to his potential. Not a lot to say on Matko Miljevic, and of course, you know, with this situation, Montreal can maybe, you know, terminate his contract without paying the rest of his salary because of
a breach of contract.
So, let's wait and see the official announcement from CF Montreal. We always know Tony Marinaro, when he comes out with the news like that, he's usually
on point.
Correct.
So let's wait and see, but we will we'll maybe not discuss that next week because we're done. So
yeah, goodbye, good riddance.
We do have a guest, a special guest, as we said at the beginning of the episode. So Bryce Duke that came and we had a chat with him, Elias and me. So let's put that interview right away. And
will you click on it? Because I always accidentally launch it.
I will. Thanks. I will. Let's go. So we're pleased to be joined by Bryce Duke from CF Montreal. Bryce, thanks a lot for being here on the ball this round. Thank you for being with us, and we can't wait to talk to you.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
It's a pleasure. Now, always ask, the first question that we ask in our interviews is very, very simple. You're born in Arizona. What or who made you love and choose soccer over anything else?
I would say my dad had a big influence for sure. But to be honest, so I started soccer when I was 3 years old, and supposedly I just didn't enjoy it. I always wanted the ball, so let's just say the other team had the ball, I would want the ball, or another player on my team would want the ball, I would try and go take it from him. So I always wanted the ball, and when I said I couldn't have it all the time, I guess I just didn't like it anymore. So then I started I raced bicycles for a little bit, probably up until I was 7, and then decided, hey, like I want to try soccer again. And then decided to try soccer again, and then just kind of fell in love with it from there. And then when I was younger, me and my dad used to watch games all the time. Our favorite player was Andreas Iniesta. And so watching Bryce was something cool. So that's kind of what made me fall in love with the game, and then just realized like I was pretty good at it, so just decided to stick with it.
Now, is Iniesta and that whole team, that philosophy, is something that have you tried to model your game after? Is that maybe one of your influences?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, he's kind of got the same build, and then I try and mold my game around him as much as possible, just because I like the way he moves. He's not technically like, in terms of he's not the one who has all the spotlight in terms of scoring goals and like doing all the spectacular things, but behind the scenes, if you really look at who scores a goal, he's pretty much involved in every single play that there is, every single goal that there is. So, which I really enjoyed. And then he just has an impact on the game, no matter kind of what he's doing, or where he's on the field. So, just something that I kind of realized when younger, and then I just enjoyed the way he played. And also my dad having him as his favorite player as well also had a little bit of influence, but, and then, yeah, I just kind of took off from there.
Very interesting. I have a couple of you are a Barcelona fan. Everybody knows Elias that you're a Barcelona fan.
But are you still a Barcelona fan, or is it something that's you've looked at other teams?
I was a Barcelona fan for a while, and then as soon as I got older, I started to realize like it wasn't so much of like the team and the players, it was so much of like the style of play. So then I realized like I really liked how Pep Guardiola plays and coaches and stuff like that. So then I just kind of started following him rather than teams and players. So when he was at Barcelona, enjoyed it. When he was at Bayern Munich, enjoyed how they played, and now at Man City. And then Arsenal plays kind of similar as well. So, I mean, it's kind of weird to say, but my favorite two teams as of right now are probably Man City and Arsenal.
So last year was a good year for you then.
Yeah, last year was a good year.
Good. I have a couple of follow-up questions regarding all that. Iniesta was rumored to maybe sign with Inter Miami. What was your reaction, knowing that you're coming from there too, and knowing, of course, that Jordi Alba and Messi, Sergio Busquets are there? Was that some kind of regret somewhere, just not be able to play with these guys? Or
yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of both. Yeah, you always wish you could play with them and kind of go under their wing and learn a few things from them and stuff like that. But then if you look at on the other side, you get to play against them, which is all something cool as well. So, and if you get to beat them, how many people get to say like, oh, I beat all these guys? So it's a little bit of both. I mean, yeah, I would have definitely enjoyed playing with them. But then if it happens, then definitely going to enjoy playing against them. So
nice, interesting. It's gonna be fun. Everybody's waiting for that matchup between CF Montreal and Inter Miami. Might or might not happen in the playoffs this year if you guys are qualified. So let's wait and see. Let's come back to MLS right now. You've been playing in MLS for a bit of time right now. Who do you think is the toughest defender you've played against since you started playing in MLS?
I would
Or toughest
let's just say
midfielder?
I would go midfielder, and then I would probably say like Martinez on Philadelphia Union, just like a guy who just goes and tackles everything and just like somebody who breaks up every single play. Those would probably be like the hardest players to play against. But then even you have like Darlington Nagbe, who is just class on the ball and like so smart. So I mean, probably I would say probably those two.
You've seen you've seen Philadelphia up close in a number of situations, and a lot of teams look at Philly as kind of like this blueprint for how to organically grow a team into a sustainably successful one. How do you think Montreal's project is doing in comparison to a project like Philly's, where they've managed to successfully have a lot of good homegrown players and bringing a lot of really good youth? And where do you think Montreal is maybe towards progressing to getting to that point?
Yeah, I mean, Philadelphia's done a good job. They're definitely a team within the league. They're definitely one of the top teams who play their young guys, who play their homegrowns. For example, you have Philadelphia, who plays a lot of homegrowns, and then you have, let's just say, like Orlando City, who doesn't really play a lot of their homegrowns. So it's cool to see that there's teams out there putting trust in their young guys. And then, I mean, it pays off. You have Paxton Aronson, who gets sold. You have Jack McGlynn, who's playing well there, and stuff like that. So, but I think Montreal is doing a pretty good job as I see. I mean, I've only been here for 6 months, and before that, didn't really pay attention to. But like last year, good team. You sell 3-4 players. So to Europe, to top teams in Europe, which is something that you like to see as well. And then now you have a team where there's a lot of younger guys, whether it's Saliba, who's in the midfield, who's getting a lot of games, and he's only 19. Siwat Jonathan, he's young, 22. Me, Mahala. You have all these guys who are in that range of 19 to 22 years old who are getting a lot of games, which at that age, it's probably the most important for in terms of development. So, I mean, this year, yeah, maybe we wanted to be a little higher up in the rankings, but I mean, that's how progression works. It's up and down, up and down. So, you can't predict the future, but I feel like we're definitely headed in the right direction. Just small details need to get fixed here and there, and I feel like we could be a top team for sure.
Interesting. Now you came here with a lot of expectations. A lot of people thinking that you would directly replace Georgi Mihailovic. Do you feel that right now you achieved that, and how do you compare your game to his?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say I achieved that. I've been here for 6 months, and if you look at the team last year and this year, the style of play is different. You have different players who play around you, stuff like that. So it's all those little things. I could definitely say that the position that I'm in and the position that he was in last year are different in compare of a team last year who are number 2 in the league. Everything's clicking, stuff like that. Where this year you have a bunch of guys, you have injuries, you have a bunch of guys rotating in. So it's like there's a lot of changes, which is fine. You have to adapt to that, which that's normal. But I wouldn't say I've taken the spot of him or or that. And then similar, I mean, I feel like we both always look for that final pass, always looking forward, creative. Something that he has that I think I'm lacking is just that final touch, that final shot, goal, stuff like that, which last year he did well with. I think he had 8 goals before he left. So that's something that is my goal, is to add those goals, add those assists, and become one of those players on the team that everyone can kind of rely on.
Interesting. Now we've seen, Georgie in the first year, he was mostly giving assists, and the second year, that's when he added, the goals, his tally, and everything. So I suppose you said that that's something that you're looking forward to at one point, and you want to improve that. Do you have any objectives, like for the first year, your second year in Montreal? Do you put yourself some targets, or how do you function?
Yeah, I mean, targets or goals are obviously important as a player as well. You want to set standards for yourself. So this year, I mean, for me, it was more of just be as productive as possible, help the team as much as possible, whether that's goals, assists, or just starting up a play and you get the hockey assist, or creating something. And so my goal this year, and then if goals and assists came, then that's amazing. And then for next season, I mean, I want to be there to where, like I said before, a player that the team can rely on, and you get goals and assists out of me, and I am one of those top goal scorers on the team, top assists on the team, stuff like that.
Now, I kind of wanted to lean a bit on your youth and your experience with a variety of different youth setups, right? Since you've gone to Real Salt Lake, you've been in LAFC, you've been at Miami, you've now in Montreal, and you're still only 22. Have you had much experience or much contact with the academy side in Montreal, and how does it compare to some of the academy or some of the youth setups that you've seen in other MLS sides?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like I haven't had maybe as much as, let's say, when I was in LAFC, because I was 18 when I was in LAFC, so I kind of was closer to them rather than now. But I mean, from what I see from now, you have guys who are training in the academy that come and train with us, and that's probably more than LAFC and Inter Miami. So every week we have 4 or 5 guys, new faces come in, they train and they do well. So that's always something good to see, at young guys at that age who come in and train with the first team and keep their standard. So keep a high standard, which is important. And then just having the academy kind of get a glimpse of the first team and kind of get a little taste of it, so they become more hungry, and stuff like that. So, but from what I see, the academy, it's going in the right direction as well.
Do you see? You said they're doing well, but do you see the gap between those youth players and the first team? Is it significant? Because we know here in Montreal, a lot of our fan base is not very happy not having a reserve team, or having the reserve team playing PLSQ and not in the second league of the MLS. So do you see the gap, or do you see that they have what it takes to go to the next level and to be a part of your group?
No, I mean, yeah, I mean, to be honest, I don't know a lot of the guys' ages that come up and play with us. So be 16 and some of them could be 18. I've never asked them. So, but from what I see, yeah, they can handle themselves. I mean, the biggest thing, especially when I was that young, was just the physicality side of things, and just like the mentality, and like knowing what to do before you get the ball. Which, I mean, when you play in an environment with the first team for so long, there's things that you start to pick up. And you're obviously playing, when you're 18, you're playing with guys who are 35, who have been in the league for 10 years. So it's like, it's that a bit of experience that you kind of pick up and learn while watching and training and stuff like that. So, yeah, you can see a little bit of things that people need to work on and guys need to work on, but that's normal. And then touching on what you said, when they're not playing in the MLS's next, like as much as you hate to see it, like I would like that to happen, is that they make that transition to MLS the next. I don't know any on the situation on why they're not there. When I first came here, I thought they would be there, and then I realized that they're playing in, I don't know what you called it, but they're playing in another league.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
semi-professional
so
league in Quebec.
yeah, so when I heard that, I was a little starstruck and a little surprised. But I mean, if they can make that push and get them in MLS's next, I don't see why they would struggle.
Now, getting into the professional game is very informative, but it's also can be a bit of a culture shock sometimes. And a lot of professional players have one distinct memory or a collection of memories, whether it's in training camp, in practice, or in a game, where the realities of the professional level kind of hits you. And I was wondering if you had one where it's just like, welcome to the league moment where you're like, oh my God, this isn't, this
Yeah.
isn't an academy game anymore. We're in the show.
Probably say preseason, my first year with LAFC. We're playing a preseason game against Toronto FC. And one of the plays in the game, like I was playing well, one of the plays in the game, Josie Altidore comes up and just absolutely kills me. And like it was like it wasn't dirty or anything. It was like a 50-50, and my elbow kind of got caught like in my stomach, and he hit me, and then it just like knocked the wind out of me, and I couldn't breathe. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I've never felt like this before. And like Josie Altidore at the time is massive. So and
he's still massive.
yeah. So and I'm 5'7", 130 pounds, and it's like I just got killed. So then that was kind of like a wake up moment. Like, okay, now I'm playing with who are way more physical, faster than me, stronger than me. So like, what am I have to do to like avoid this? And so what I started to lean on was just like reading the game and kind of like the mentality side of things, of just understanding the game and being one step ahead of everybody. So I kind of avoid those challenges and stuff like that, which I mean, in my position, you still get hit no matter what. That's just how the game is, but you just kind of have to read the play ahead of time before it's kind of too late. So
now we talked about you being with different teams and then coming to Montreal. As soon as you traded in Montreal, what is your reaction? Was there any talks beforehand, before you were traded? And also, what was your perception of Montreal and CF Montreal altogether?
Yeah,
I see you smile here. I see you smile. There's a story there.
So I remember we played. It was 2022 season. We played here and we tied, I think 2-2.
Yeah.
And after that game, I had like a short conversation with Wilfred at the time, and he was like great game, like keep it up, like keep your head up, like keep progressing, blah blah blah, you're doing well. And then time goes by, whatever. Then we play in Miami and kills us 3-1 or something like that. But I only played second half, came on at halftime, and I played well. And then started to hear kind of like rumors that like there could be a move to Montreal, but it was all talk and like behind the scenes. So it's like, and then preseason goes by, I'm in talks with Miami to sign a new deal. Then I sign a new deal and I'm like, okay, like I'm here for the next 3-4 years. And then, or if I go to Europe at time, then I'll go to Europe, stuff like that. So my mentality was that I was in Miami. I'm here for 3 years, 4 years, and my goal is to get to Europe. So I'm focused here. And then I don't even know, maybe it was a month and a half after I signed the new deal, and I sit down, breakfast in Miami, got my omelet there, about to sit down and eat it, and Phil Neville comes up and he's like, "Hey Bryce, like, can I come talk to you in the office?" And I was like, okay, maybe he's going to talk. We just lost to FC Dallas 1-0. Maybe he's going to talk to me about the game, like stuff like that. sit down and our GM is in there too, and I'm like, huh, like this is weird. I don't know what's going on. Like, did something happen? Like, what's the deal? And then out of nowhere, they're like Bryce, like we traded you. And at first they didn't tell me like who I got traded to. They're just like, we've traded you, and I'm like, okay, to who? Well, it's like, where am I going? And then they were like CF Montreal, and I was like, okay. And then it was funny because when our first game of the season against Miami, I had a conversation on the field with Kai Kamara, and he was like, hey, like I heard there's like a rumor going around that you're going to be coming to Montreal, and I'm like what? Like I haven't heard anything. Like what am I missing here? And so then it's kind of funny how just like little bits of information that you hear like ends up being true in the end. So I was surprised for sure because I was in Miami looking to like buy a house and like stuff like that because that my mentality was like I'm staying here. And then I get told on a Wednesday, I think. No, Tuesday. And then pack all my stuff. Wednesday was raining in Florida, so I couldn't leave. So I left Thursday morning. I think, yeah, I left Thursday morning, trained Friday, and then playing in a game on Saturday against DC United. So, I mean, it was like a turnaround like that. Flip was switch super quick. So, yeah, but I mean, in the end, I'm happy. I'm playing my position. I'm starting. I'm getting the most minutes I've gotten since I've been in the league. And so that's pretty much all I can ask for.
How important was it that, for you that CF Montreal has that sort of project of, developing young players and all the contacts that Olivier Renard has in Europe and everything? Is that something that you thought about right away when you were traded? You said, you know what, my dream is to go to Europe. You said it a couple of times already. That's going to help me achieve that in a certain way, or you didn't really think about that?
Yeah, I mean, it's always in the back of your mind where you look at Montreal's team last year and you see all these who made the jump overseas. So you're like, yeah, like I want to do that. And back in Miami, since the club is, there's not that many young guys who have made the jump over just because the club is 3-4 years new. So going to Montreal and knowing the history of what they've done in the past and looking at a Georgie situation where he was at Chicago, Montreal bought him, and Georgie here for 2-3 years, I believe, or something like that. And then he makes the jump. So, and that's kind of the pathway that I was looking at when I first got here, is to try and follow in those footsteps as much as possible.
Now, how do you think that, the experience from all these different environments and these different teams kind of lends to your development? Like you said, right, this is a path that many have taken, including Georgie. What do you think is the most important part about, just the variety of experience that will help you develop the most?
Yeah, I mean, you take a bits and pieces of each club that you're at, whether it's the environment, whether it's the coach, certain tactics, or like playing players. So when I was at LAFC, Bob was a coach that was very attention to detail. He wanted everything perfect. So if somebody was playing a ball to you, they pass a ball to you and it's bouncing, he would stop the play, restart, and have you pass it on the ground. Make sure you pass it to the correct foot. Basically, his biggest thing was make sure you set up the person that you're passing to not to fail. So set them up for success. So that's kind of something that I took to heart. And then going to Miami, you learn that how to work hard. Was a team that if we're losing, we might be losing, but we're going to be the hardest working team out there, and to never really give up until the end, because last year there was so many games where we're down 2-0 and in the last 10 minutes of the game, we come back and win 3-2 or we tie it up, and just to like salvage those points. And then you have players who I played with over there, Gregore, the Brazilian, where he plays the 6, and that would be one of the guys that I would say is probably the hardest defensive midfielders to play against too.
Oh wow!
Just in so he's Brazilian, and he took me under his wing, but in terms of how to play. But when we would be on opposite teams, he would absolutely kill me. Like he would go in and just tackle me. And so that kind of told me how to be tough and deal with those kind of players, and also just always know what's behind me and kind of focus on their movements, because then towards the end I kind of got to know his tendencies. And so when he would come in one way, I would kind of understand on how he would go, and then I could figure things out to get out of it. So you learn stuff like that, and then coming here, you get a feel of what Europe is like. I mean, the city, the training facility, all that stuff. And so it kind of gives you a taste in your mouth, and you're like, you want more, you want more. So, and then just learning how to play with different players and learning how to adapt and stuff like that. So.
That's very interesting. Now we learned about Bryce Duke, the player. Now it's time to learn about Bryce Duke, the guy, the man. We want to know everything about you. We have a few questions for you. First of all, do you have any pre-game rituals or superstitions or something that you do before every game, or you don't want to share it? That's something else also.
I wouldn't say, but usually the night before, I always eat pasta. So the night before is always pasta for dinner.
Do you eat pasta with Victor Wanyama, or?
No, I have not.
Okay.
I haven't tried his pasta though. I heard it was good. But pasta for sure is one of the big rituals. But not really. I mean, I kind of just go throughout the day on how I'm feeling. Sometimes I'll stay inside. Sometimes I'll go out for a walk. Sometimes I'll ride a bike just to get the legs moving, stuff like that. Sometimes I'll cook food here. Sometimes I'll go somewhere else. Just kind of based off how I'm feeling. And then music-wise, I just pretty much listen to everything. Sometimes I'll listen to like a certain type of music, like R&B or country, just to like kind of calm everything down, not to always listen to like hardcore rap and stuff like that. To like, some players need to get like super hyped up before a game, where I'm more of just like a kind of just chill and just but other than that, just that's about it.
All right, we've got a couple quick fire questions. Super simple. First thing that pops in your head. So here we go.
Okay.
Favorite food?
Spaghetti.
PlayStation or Xbox?
Xbox.
Least favorite player on the team to go one-on-one against in training?
Yeah, I had time to think about 4 players.
Victor Wanyama. Victor Wanyama.
Messi or
between
Ronaldo?
Victor Wanyama and Joel Waterman. Messi.
One word to describe Hernan Losada.
Jokester.
Oh, really?
One MLS player besides Messi you really want to play with?
Iniesta.
Best game of your career, or a game that sticks out in your head the most?
Wait, say that again?
Best game of your career, or one that sticks out in your mind the most?
Best game of my career.
No, as in, do you have one?
Let's see. I mean, let's just go most recent, the Pumas game. I feel like that was fun playing against a team from Liga, or when I made my debut in Champions League with LAFC when we went to Lyon. That was a pretty crazy game as well.
Yeah, those are classics. Team goal with a lot of passes, or a banger from 30 yards out?
I'll go team goal with a lot of passes.
Funniest guy in the locker room?
Mason Toy.
Player with the best music taste?
Ari Lassiter.
Player with the worst music taste?
I'll go Mahala Apoku.
What kind of music? What kind of music do they listen to?
Mahala is like all over the place, but I don't know. Sometimes like the Mahala is more of like, he doesn't understand the vibe of the locker room. So like he'll just play like some random stuff.
Okay. You know, to each their own, right? So
yeah, exactly.
Bryce, thank you very much for taking the time with us. I think it was really fun. Welcome to Montreal. You've been here for 6 months, but from the ball is round, we say welcome to Montreal. We hope you're gonna have tons of assists, tons of goals for us, and hopefully we'll see you in the playoffs at the end of the year too.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you guys for having me.
Thank you very much for being with us.
Sweet.
So that was Bryce Duke on The Ball is Round. I hope you guys liked the interview. We had a lot of fun making it. A very, very funny guy, very interesting guy, Bryce Duke, and we had a lot of fun with him for sure. Yeah, so moving on, we have quite a few subjects left, but let's talk about the Canadian women's national team because there is a very, very important doubleheader that's coming right now on the 22nd of September, so on Friday in Jamaica. Canada playing for an Olympic berth, and on the 26th of September it will be the return game that will be played in Toronto in BMO Field. So let's look at what Beth Priestman decided to take with her. So as goalkeepers, we had Sabrina D'Angelo, Lisiane Prou, and Caitlin Sheridan as defenders. Kadisha Buchanan, Gabrielle Carl, Sidney Collins, Vanessa Gilles, Ashley Lawrence, Jade Rose, Jade Rivière, Bianca Saint-Georges, and Shelina Sadorsky. In midfielders, Maria Asmina Lidou, Simia Wujo, Jessie Fleming, Julia Grosso, and Quinn. And as strikers or attackers, Jordan Heidema, Chloe Lacasse, Adriana Leon, Michelle Prince, Diane Rose, Christine Sinclair, Olivia Smith, and Evelyn Vian. Eve, when you look at that roster, are you surprised? Is there anybody that you would have liked to see? Is there someone that was surprising to see in the squad?
I'll say maybe a little bit Marie-Yasmine Alidou. Obviously, she made a big move in the Portuguese league, going from Porto to represent Canada at Benfica in Chloe Lacasse's departure. And she's kind of been on the fringes for quite a while, but she's gotten off to a good start I was about to say in Portugal, but she's been in Portugal for a while with Benfica. So really excited to see her back in the mix, especially because midfield now, especially Sophie Schmidt, is no longer going to be part of the setup.
She's retired, yeah.
She has officially retired from the national team. So, there are definitely some gaps to fill. So her name, I think, was one of the ones that stuck out the most. Obviously, Olivia Smith, she's also located in Portugal. She's so early in her pro career, though, and I think it is still valuable for her to be part of the setup, even if she doesn't necessarily get any or many minutes.
Yeah, I had a few question marks on a few players. First of all, we see Jade Rivière not getting called up anymore by Manchester United, by the way.
Yeah.
It's been a couple of games. She's not even on a bench, which is very weird. On the other side, also, Adriana Leon.
She moved.
Yeah, exactly. I was getting there. Was not playing also with Manchester United.
Yeah.
Now she just moved to Aston Villa. So we'll see if she's going to be able to get some minutes. And you see other players that haven't played that much. Jade Rose just came back from injury. Yes, she played a couple of games with Harvard, but still, she didn't play that much. We all know that, Canada is not right now going into these games with a lot of confidence.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think, Elias, that it's going to be tougher or harder for the Canadian women's national team to qualify for the Olympics now after that shocking result at the World Cup, because nobody's over that as of right now?
I think it's really going to be a test of just how unified this group is, but both staff and within the players themselves. Because at the end of the day, like you said, right, it was a huge shock, and it's definitely a blow to morale. And how a team recovers mentally is just as important as how well they play on the field. And I'm very curious to see what kind of performance they put together. I still think that, they are more than good enough to see themselves through to a qualification for Paris. I think that anything less than that is a monumental disaster, and there's no other way to put it. So I think that they're more than good enough to qualify and to win these legs, but it's how they win it that I want to see. It's
Yeah.
how, first of all, what have they learned from the World Cup? And this is very similar to, John Herdman, the men's team, after they got knocked out of Qatar. Is, have you learned something from this World Cup? Have you learned something from your failures? And I want to see Beth Priestman. I want to see this entire group show that they've grown from that group stage, and then they don't just brush it to the side. Yes, you forget. Yes, you try and put it past you, but you also have to grow as a group and even as individuals. So without that, yes, you beat Jamaica, congratulations. But I need to see some kind of growth and some kind of improvement that will show and that reinforce the fact that what we saw in Australia and New Zealand is not going to happen again.
I completely agree. And I think it goes. It's going to be important to see a change, a formation change, in my opinion. A 3-5-2, a 3-4-3 is going to be the way to go. You need to get your defenders, your best players on the pitch together. So I would like to see Zadorsky with Buchanan and Gilles,
Yeah.
as a back three. I think that's how, the women's team is able to play is play at its best with wing backs, and you don't have a lot of midfielders, so playing with Grosso, Quinn, and Fleming is what you need to do right now. Even with Christine Sinclair dropping also in the middle, also that's something that you can try also. But I think a 3-5-2 is going to be the way to go for Beth Priestman, or a 3-4-3. So let's wait and see. And don't forget, I talked about the players that are a bit surprising. Deanne Rose is without a club right now, right? Did she sign with someone else?
Yes, she did. Oh, I forget who. I gotta look it up, but she did sign with. Holy crap, Leicester.
Leicester, yeah, right. She did sign with the Leicester, but still, like, you have so many question marks in that team right now, and it wasn't the case before the World Cup. It's just so weird. So I think getting to the Olympics is just a formality. It's not even a win. Like, you can't look at that as being, oh wow, we made it. No, we're supposed to be in Olympics. It's as simple as that. If anything else to add on that fixture, because it's going to be super important.
It's going to be super important, and it's going to be super challenging. I would just add, anybody who thinks this is going to be a walk in the park, I wish I had some of what you were smoking.
No, they beat Brazil, they beat France in the World Cup, Jamaica.
Exactly.
So
exactly.
That's how good they are. So
So anybody who's looking at this on paper and thinking, oh, this should be a foregone conclusion, anything but.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So we'll talk a bit more about it next week. We would have already one game played, and we'll preview the following game. That's going to be played on the Tuesday of the week after.
Yep.
And hopefully we'll see a Canada win in that double header. So I think that's about it until social media, right?
All right, off we go.
Let's do this.
Alrighty. First one, Elias, over to you.
This one is from Yannick Hamelin. Some will say that their goalkeeper was good, but I would rather say that almost no one, since Kyoto is back, knows how to shoot at this club. If you look at the discrepancy in XG, it's 1.9 to 0.3. That is the second biggest discrepancy in a Montreal game. The biggest was the 5-0 loss to Vancouver, to show you the kind of standard in terms of difference in expected goals. And Sada said that, the hardest part of soccer is creating chances, and finishing is almost secondary. What do you think about that statement, and what do you think it says about what he expects of his club?
I agree with him.
Yeah.
The hardest part is creating chances, and we are creating chances. at one point it's gonna go in. It's just not normal. It's Murphy's law in a certain way. I don't know.
I don't know. I just think they love to make me suffer. That's all. That
they do.
That's my
That
thought.
they do.
They love to make me suffer. Alrighty, shall we move on?
Moving on to the next one. Yes. All right. This is from Garincha, and again, this is we retweeted the video of the alleged handball. So if you want to see the full video and multiple angles, you could see it on our Twitter. There's no VAR, no penalty. We would like explanations. There's been 3 instances now that have not cost Montreal points, cost Montreal the opportunity to get points. If you look at the last 2 games with the penalty against Cucho that was called when it shouldn't have been, this handball, and I would add the 0-0 draw against DC when DC was not given a red card when they should have. And the way that game went, Montreal very well could have ended up, grabbing 3 points. At the end of the season, do you look back on moments like this and wish that VAR or the officiating was looked at, or do you think that officiating in MLS as a setup should stay the same, and then the quality of the official?
I think it all kind of winds up coming out in the wash to a certain extent. I think all teams kind of maybe get a little lucky and then get a little unlucky here and there throughout the season. So I think overall, from at least an equity standpoint, even though I'm not saying it's great, it kind of, I don't think like there's any one team that is just rolling in random lucky VAR calls. I do think sort of the lack of TV angles because let's face it, most MLS fans do watch other leagues, right? I think the lack of angles for the officials to consult in VAR is a little bit problematic. And it does make MLS look a bit behind the times, even though they were one of the leagues to pilot VAR.
It's weird because, we don't need more angles to do the right call. We saw the angles for,
well,
in
the
this
whole offside thing, they said they didn't have angles for it, right?
Yeah. The offside, I kind of understand, but this one, some things can be explained by the angles, but the others are just plain unexplainable in a certain way. It's, that handball for me is a penalty. So let's not go right into that again. But yeah, I think that something should be done by the league to fix those issues. Is it the level of refereeing that's the problem? I don't think so. Is it the tools, as Eve is saying? I'm not sure. There's something to be done. That's for sure, because it cannot continue like this.
Alrighty. Next.
All right. On to the next tweet. This is from Bibian Media here in Montreal. Tomorrow morning, you have to choose between Chinonzo Ofor and Bjorn Johnson. Which one are you taking and why?
04. 100%.
And why?
Oh,
why? Because the profile of 04 is something that can be useful. Bjorn Johnson didn't have anything for him.
I would just say he's younger, so there's more hope for development there. That would be me, even though I'm not hopeful.
I've never seen Bjorn Johnson really showing anything on the pitch unless just one game when he scored a brace against Miami. That's the only game where we saw something from Bjorn Johnson. Yeah. The rest of the games we haven't seen anything. Yeah. Chinonzo 04, at least you see him. His physicality is kind of impressive. So at least that is playing for him. It's not the same salary. Yeah. Also,
that too.
It's like maybe
$1
Johnson had 10 times the salary of 04. So maybe not 10, but like 5 or 6 times. So
I
don't know.
Exactly. Alrighty. Speed on through here.
Next week. Yes, this is from Theo Lloyd Hughes. The Jamaica squad for the Olympic qualifier versus Canada is out. A big recall for Sade Adam Molekun. Sorry for that. Who was not in the World Cup squad, but recently signed with Hearts in the Scottish Women's Premier League. We spoke about this, how this is nowhere near a foregone conclusion, but looking at this Jamaican squad, where can they potentially hurt Canada, and what matchups do you think would give Canada the biggest headache?
I mean, Bunny Shaw.
Khadija Shaw.
Yeah.
That's the problem. There
Yeah,
it is.
exactly. 100%. 100%. She is so good. She is a veritable superstar. You know, she plays with Manchester City in WSL. Yeah, for me, she has to be watched so very closely.
And that's why your back three should be interesting.
Exactly. Yeah, another really good point, because yeah, she can do it all. You know, she's an extremely complete forward. So yeah, 100%.
Right. That is
Last.
very true, and definitely
Mhm.
the biggest threat on the Jamaican side.
Totally. Last tweet.
Last one. Yes, some good news from Renato Sousa. Thank you, Canada. Our Olympic play-in match against Jamaica in Toronto is sold out. See you on September 26th. Just how important is it to have BMO Field loud and raucous for such an important game?
So there's like quite a large Jamaican community in Toronto. So there's part of me that wonders.
I don't think
How
so.
much of it do you think would
Well, I'm
realistically,
just
how much do you think we
honestly,
would
my
see?
running theory was like, you know, morale is really, really low. I don't know. We're obviously going to see. Maybe I'm completely wrong, and it is all Canadian fans who bought the tickets, or mostly. So maybe I'm wrong.
I feel that I feel sad in a certain way, and I'm going to tell you why. Because the Canadian soccer fans are answering the call, are there for their teams, for the national teams. You know, the Montrealers are there for their team, are there at Stade Saputo again with the sold out Stade Saputo Stadium yesterday. But the product on the field is not there. The organization is not there with Canada Soccer. I'm not talking about Montreal, but Canada Soccer. And I'm sad because we've always said that, you know, nobody cares about soccer in Canada. And now that the people really care about soccer in Canada, we have all kinds of problems. And that for me is sad. It's so sad. But at least I'm happy that it's going to be a sold out BMO field. Hopefully we'll see a crushing victory from Canada. I doubt it, but hopefully we'll see that.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully we see a game at Stade Saputo sometime. That would be
yeah, but
that would be nice.
Stop dreaming. Let's stop dreaming.
We can dream.
So naive.
Exactly, so naive. So guys, thanks a lot for being here with me today. I think that's gonna wrap up the show. Yeah, so it was fun. I think it's been it was a nice episode, a packed episode. I hope you guys liked it. As you know, our content is always going to be free, but if you are interested in helping us grow the product, please join us, join our Patreon page. And of course, we will make sure to invest that money and make sure that we provide a better product in the future. So that's it for tonight. See you next week for another episode of The Ball is Round.